So, hello there, everybody who's watching Wise Women Weekdays. This is Karen. Thank you for watching these videos. If you do enjoy them, please give us a thumbs up, make some comments, make some noise, maybe subscribe to the channel. The more interest that we get, obviously, the more chats I'll do with people that have amazing, interesting information to share with us. And today I've got somebody from Skywatch, and we're going to be talking about stuff up there, up in the skies, and what's going on there and how it's affecting us. And I think this is a very valid subject because I know over the years when I've talked to people about the stripes in the sky, they think I'm absolutely bonkers. And I used to think I'm bonkers, but there is so much evidence now, there is so much information, and I will put some descriptions and some links in the description where the United Nations are talking about it, and lots of videos. And it's, I think, where it's got for me personally, I can't be bothered to talk about it to some people anymore because they don't want to know. But when you go out and it's a beautiful blue skies, it has been for this last couple of weeks, beginning of March 2025. And then you look up, and normally for me, it's about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Out they come, and the lines, and I just get angry. It really pees me off actually, because I'm thinking, who has given you permission to do this? And the damage that they are doing to not just me or my garden, but to everything, to the bees, to the children, to the animals, to the land, the food we're trying to grow. So there's this lovely person that's contacted me from Skywatch, and she's brilliant because she's doing something about it. So hello, Skywatch, how are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
Lovely
Thanks
to
for having
have
me
you.
on.
Yeah, no, it's an absolute pleasure. And, my hat goes off to you because you are doing something. And you sent me a couple of videos that I've watched, which again, I'll put in the description. We're not going to show your face. We're just going to show you nice. I think are these natural clouds, Skywatch?
This is a real photo from my local area, which I will tell you because it's relevant to what we're going to talk about in Southeast London. This is a picture from May 2020, when you may remember we had very good weather.
I don't
Very good.
remember, to be honest, but
Oh,
I'm
it
sure we
was
did.
it was quite remarkable, and everybody that I knew was talking about it.
Of
So
course.
my response to the restrictions was to go out on very, very long walks, sort of
Yes.
5 or 6 hours.
Yes. Sorry.
And so
Yeah.
I was all over the place, enjoying the weather. Um, I think Ian Simpson, that some people may know from Look Up, said that actually he spent some time at that point by Heathrow, and he said there were planes
Mm,
coming in and out, about 100 a day, but that is nothing compared to what there is generally or
yeah.
now, including anything that's not official.
Absolutely. So let me retract what I said. Of course, I remember because that's when we were all in our gardens enjoying the blue skies and enjoying no traffic and no cars, no nothing because we weren't allowed out. Although for those that chose, not to go out. So we're looking at nice, fluffy, genuine clouds, but you're not talking about these clouds, are you? You're talking about the ones that come out in a line and make crisscrosses in the sky. And I think a lot of people still don't understand the difference. We've got condensation and we've got chemicals, two different vapors coming out the back of planes. And you're talking about not EasyJet, not people taking us holiday. You're talking about people spraying us. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it's quite a confusing area because there's so much going on now. And I suppose one of the first things to say is not to get too hung up on the words chem and con. I know it's a big argument on the internet, but part of the problem is that rather than looking at our environment and what's going on, a lot of us tend to get online and just sort of have an argument with somebody, which is not actually to do with reality. So if I just sort of backtrack, I spent a couple of years out of the country after that photo, so I didn't see anything. And when I came back in 2023, the weather wasn't very good, but I didn't notice too much because I had been quite homesick and I was so thankful to be back in England, in southern England. And then in 2024, I started noticing some very strange things where not just clouds, but planes were flying at the sun, around the sun, over the sun, clearly leaving trails which then developed into clouds. And within quite a short period, the sun would then be obscured either by a haze or completely by whiteout. And the important thing, and the reason this really struck me, was that I've lived on and off in the same place for a long time, nearly 20 years, and I know these horizons really, really well. So I've got a view to the back, which is west facing. I've got a view to the front, which is east facing, and then the garden is sort of all the way around the south. And I look at whether I'm inside or outside, I look at the sky a lot. I'd have never seen anything like it. Now, that's not to say there weren't maybe one or two lines or trails before, but this was ongoing and repeated day after day after day, where there were planes leaving trails, creating clouds, either at the sun or just in the path of the sun where it was going to move. And it just looked very deliberate. So then I started doing some research and found out about the history of weather modification, the technologies that are available, the fact that there's a business, a very well developed business, which is now predicted to grow exponentially over the next few years. And on top of that, there's all these agencies and government research institutes talking about how one particular version of this technology, solar radiation management, basically a techie term for dimming the sun, is a mitigation measure for climate change. So you put all those things together and you've got something that needs looking at. So
Just
that was
making,
the first thing.
yeah, sorry, go on, carry on.
No, so I was like, do you want
Yeah,
to
yeah, well, no, I was just
right,
making a note. Like when you said solar radiation measure, was that
management. So
management?
solar radiation management, um, sometimes it's called stratospheric aerosol injection. Basically, it involves spraying the sky with some kinds of particles that reflect the light of the sun back out into space. So there's two main ways it can be done. In the video that I've made, there's an explainer by the BBC, more of which can be said about that later, where it's either done by planes spraying the lines across the sky, or done by ships spraying in the ocean. Yeah. So
Yes.
this is weather modification is actually very old. There are patents going back to 1890 something, and it's been used very obviously since early middle 20th century, and there's just no doubt about that. The only argument is how much and in what conditions. But SRM, this idea of dimming the sun, is quite new. And
Is this anything to do, Skywatch, with what Mr. Gates said? Do you remember during all this last 5 year period? And he said, oh, because of the planet and the CO problem and climate change and global warming and whatever else they want to call it, they keep changing it. I don't know. And he said, apparently, he said that he's going to hide the sun to protect us. I mean, is this the same sort of thing that we're talking about? And do you remember him saying that?
yeah. No, there's articles about that. So on the one, what you've got on the one hand is a lot of people, not a lot, but a minority of people, different kinds of people and organizations talking about dimming the sun, Bill Gates being one of them. So he gets reported because he's famous, and he's kind of, seen in many circles as a bad guy. But then you've got organizations and agencies talking about it. Such part of the UN. You've got the UK government currently running research programs into exploring it as a technology. So that's just a few examples of this whole group of different people and organizations who are interested in it as a technology for the stated reason of dimming the sun. Yeah. And then at the same time, you've then got denials that this is actually happening, apart from a few very tiny controlled experiments. So we've got a very odd situation here where there's clearly very odd things to be observed in the skies. And then you've got these plans and research and quite a lot of money going into the development of the technology officially. And then, yeah, I mean, just to say in my area, the lack of sun has been like nothing I've ever experienced before. So I'm grown up in Britain. I've always had a problem with the weather. But in my area, since September until this last bit of sunny weather in March, I can count the days where it was sunny in an ordinary way on one hand.
Yeah.
And it's from September was when I really started logging at things. And basically, September that was when the cloud came. So you might also have noticed, again, it depends a bit on what part of the country you are, but it's been like we've been under a kind of almost static blanket of cloud in London since September, apart from sometimes when it clears, and then most of the times when it starts to clear, you get these trails appearing, and then the sun doesn't last very long. So the SRM is the kind of new thing and the high profile thing and the very visible thing. But it seems to be very clear that there are other technologies being used at the same time.
Can I just say something here? Because when you're talking about the weather, I mean, the British, we talk about the weather. We love talking about the weather because we've got it, haven't we? I mean, if you lived in Saudi Arabia or maybe Australia, it's kind of hot every day. Or in Australia, it's hot half the year and then maybe not quite so hot. But we can't book a barbecue on July the 8th because we don't know if it's going to rain. So we do have weather, which is great. I think that's one of the joys of our country. But we don't have enough sunshine. And when you're talking about dimming the sun, we already, before all this, or before this has become more commonly known, not that everybody knows about it, people were already suffering, weren't they, through, I've just had to look the word up, seasonal affective disorder, SAD. Because I remember maybe 30 years ago, a friend of mine, she went and got a lamp, a SAD, an SAD lamp, because she worked, not out in natural light. She was working in an office all the time and she would get depressed and miserable. Do you think that that has got anything to do with what's going on, or are they protecting us from the rays of the sun because we're all going to get, ill because of skin cancer or whatever it's going to be? What do you think there? Why
The
are they
second
doing
question, I would say definitely no.
it? Okay.
Just absolutely clear categorical no. I'm not going to speculate too clearly about what the real motives might be.
Okay.
I don't really buy the climate change thing either, although I understand that people who are involved in this may fully believe it. Yeah,
Yeah.
they may be convinced by that. They may have different levels of awareness and understanding of what it is they're involved in and they're doing. And we don't really know, we don't really know exactly all about that. But yeah, it's very clear that dimming the sun is a damaging thing. That basically, put it another way, we need sunlight. There's just no question about that. We need sunlight for our health as human beings, for growing food. And by the way, last year England had the second worst harvest on record.
Mm.
Animals need it, plants need it, everything needs it. I think an interesting related question is why Britain? And perhaps one of the answers is that Britain is so used to having bad weather that maybe it's thought that we won't notice because an awful lot of people put down the strange weather of the last year or two to just bad weather. But for me, since September, I've had SAD as well. I was cured until recently. Um, since September, we haven't had seasons anymore because this kind of blanket of cloud as well as suppressing the sun, it just sort of suppresses changes in the weather, wind, all sorts of things. So what I've noticed is that the temperature may vary according to the year, but you've still got the blanket of when you've still got this heavy cloud, it's just very humid. So even a lot of the time in the summer, it was quite humid and a lot of people were getting unwell and symptoms because of that. Um, so yeah.
When you
Yeah,
say the interesting thing, I'm going to mention about people getting unwell now, because also before we chatted, yes, obviously yesterday you sent me a couple of videos, or recently, which I've watched, and one of them was a lady in Florida, talking about her ailment when she was out and about, and she went into like this mist and fog. Well, and she was talking about the respiratory, her lungs are affected. Now I've just come out of a massive bug, whatever it is, I don't know. I was away for 5 weeks in a hot and sunny place, Costa Rica. I came back within 4 days. I got hit with, I called it the lurgy, but having watched this woman's video and she was talking about this respiratory problem she had with breathing and the lungs, that's exactly what I had. And it did make me wonder if it's something that I'm breathing in, because I have never felt so much discomfort in my lungs. I was frightened to cough, and I've never felt my lungs before, but the breathing was so bad. And it knocked me really for a month. I would say 2 weeks in bed, a week recovering. Even now, I'm not 100%. I still get really tired. And I know so many people that have had a similar thing. And I'm just thinking this is kind of unusual. So,
That's
you know,
extremely concerning. I was away for a month in January, February, and I escaped it. And when I came back, I heard similarly that lots of people had been unwell. Uh, I have also been affected a lot by things directly after going out in certain conditions. I haven't had that, what you describe. And it may be that there are certain infectious elements involved, let's say it that way. But what I've had is that after what I call a super spray day, which is where you really see the plane spraying in all directions, and it's very, very intense, as it has been in my area. Um, the first one of those I experienced in September when I think there was a decided ramping up. Um, I was kind of angry. I'd planned gardening. It was a Sunday. I'd planned gardening, but I thought I'm going to carry on with my plan anyway. So I kind of cut down half a tree, which takes a lot of energy. And because I was, quite stressed, I was probably working quite hard and breathing quite heavily. I was unwell for 5 days after that. I had a cough, a sore throat, stinging eyes, congestion, and a friend who lived in the same area was completely out over the same period. So since then, when there's a super spray day, I don't go out, basically. So last Saturday was one as well. I didn't go out, even
no.
though I saw everybody walking around. I thought I'm not getting ill again. And on another occasion, I was on a plane and we basically flew straight through a trail. I
Oh,
saw it coming. I saw it being done. I saw the dark, sooty, browny atmosphere. And I thought, oh dear, I wish I had
mm,
some sort of protection. And the very next day, I could not speak without coughing. So we are all getting affected. Um, and although the initial symptoms are respiratory, I also think we maybe don't realize the long term, we're not fully aware, even those of us who know about the situation, not really haven't really fully considered the longer term implications of this. So this is something I don't talk about in the video, but the metals, the heavy metals that people talk about. And I did meet somebody a little while ago from Oxford who tested his whole family for heavy metals. And he found that his 8-year-old daughter had high levels of aluminium in her body. Now, how does an 8-year-old get that in her body growing up in Oxford? uh, Aluminium is linked to Alzheimer's and Parkinson's.
mm,
So it's really concerning if we are being exposed to high levels of that, for example. Now, I had an elderly relative who died this year, actually, after a very long, unpleasant old age because he had Parkinson's. So he was housebound and immobilized for about 4 years, and it was absolutely awful to see. And when I went to visit him a few times during this point, and I was just appalled because there were just planes, trails everywhere,
mm.
this funny cloud again. And then I talked to some people after about it, and they said, yes, this is a heavy spraying area. It's been going on for years. Now, my elderly relative was a very keen gardener. He spent a lot of time outside. So, you know, this is to say that people who think they can just carry on, um, and that they're not really bothered. We don't know what the long-term
No.
consequences of this might be, especially on a population-wide scale. And it's been clear to me from both the research I've done and the observation and experience in my area that the UK is one of the centres of focus for basically a geoengineering experiment. So unless something changes, this
Yeah.
is likely to carry on. And as I say, I document some of this in the video. There is evidence that there are plans for this to carry on and increase. So just we just need to really pause and think about that. Population wide, if we are being subject to all these sort of toxins, as well as the issue of living with very little sunlight, what does that mean for us as a people and a country? That's why I'm here. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing, although I can't really afford the time, um, because I think, we're at a very serious point and we need to start taking action.
Well, my hat, as I said, I think before, my hat goes off to you for doing it, because so many of us do talk about it, and I know so many people that talk about it, and they cuss, they moan, they complain, but they don't do anything. So, well done for you to try and get something off the ground here. Before we can move on to say how we can get involved and support your work, I also just wanted to show, I don't know how to share my screen, as I say, I'm not technical, but just before Christmas, the skies went pink where I am in West Sussex. So I don't know if
Mm,
that, that's,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And it's very pretty, but I couldn't wait to get home. It was just behind my house. That tree is literally behind my house, and I've got loads of photos. And then I sent it to a friend, and I mean, it was even, it was pinker than that, very pretty. And she said, "Oh yeah, that will be." And then she sent me this, which I don't know how it will come off as I put it to the camera. I think it was curium. So she's got all these different colors of the chemicals, and the radiation. Whereas people in the local community, I know if I pop onto the Facebook, which is very rare, but I just see what's going on in my local community, and they will say, "Oh, the aurora borealis and all the lights were really pretty last night. Did you all see them?" So people are totally oblivious to what's going on. It's so unnatural, all this stuff, the different colors, the fog, the stripy skies, but they still don't seem to do it, and until, like you say, what is going to happen to us, because it is going to affect us long term. And you also mentioned that there's money behind this, because it's pilots are getting paid to do it, and some pilots don't really, either they are ignorant to what they're doing, or they think they are helping us, or there's something nefarious behind it. I don't know. It's again, we've got to make our own decisions. We've got to think about it, haven't we, really, to decide what we want to do and why they're doing it. We might not be able to stop these people that are doing it for whatever reason. They might be happy, or they are happy doing it. Maybe it's money. What can we do? How can we help you? How can we support you? What do you suggest?
Just don't support me, support yourselves. So that's the first thing.
Hmm.
So what I've noticed, particularly since I started doing this, is that uh, there's a lot of looking to external saviors in this. So whether it's people saying that, oh, Trump or Kennedy is going to do something to stop it, which will somehow stop it in Britain, or whether it's people, I mean, I've had examples on the Skywatch X account where people say things like, "Oh well, when reform gets in 4 years, they'll deal with it." Yeah, I'm not going to comment on that because there's so much that could be said about that. And somebody, bless them, said that they were in another county, and they deliver some leaflets. Well, I'm one person. And I don't have an organisation with branches across the country, and I don't have a campaigns department, although I have, worked with them in professional jobs with leaflets and printed material. So the first thing is that there's an attitude which is very, very deep rooted in Britain that other people, whether they be leaders or institutions, are somehow going to sort things out for us. And they're clearly not, because they have failed us so monumentally over the last 5 years in particular. And at the same time, some of them, and this speaks to the pretty skies we're seeing, some of them are really actively involved in keeping the population oblivious. So when you see these pink skies and photos, I see all the time, posts by individuals and also the Met Office saying, this is something, something with a new name, or isn't this pretty? And then you look at the comments underneath and you think, oh my God. And then sometimes you think, oh, phew, some people are getting it. They're realizing that these sudden pretty colors. Um, my new favorite one is seeing iridescence near the sun, which I've never seen before, despite having, surveyed the skies all my life. It's like looking at a little bit of oil in a puddle. And it's
Yeah.
always after something weird has been going on and there's lots of clouds around the sun. So something maybe diesely, which people have reported high levels of diesel smells up and down the country at different points, and sulfur dioxide is a key ingredient in solar radiation management, by the way. That's the same thing that we're trying to get rid of, supposedly, when we have all these ULEZ and clean air schemes. So yeah, so all this is the institutions are not helping us, and some of them are actively presenting basically propaganda, whether they realize it or not.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are realizations at high levels. I doubt whether the staff lower down realize what they're
Yeah.
involved in. So that is one of the things that we have to counter. In terms of what we can do, I recommend two basic things. And this is coming from the point of view that the UK is at a very low level of awareness on the issue and a very low level of activism compared to the United States. So in the United States, I'm aware of lots of different groups doing things. Of course, you've got Geoengineering Watch, and there's lots of legislation in different states now banning it,
Florida
which
hasn't Florida banned it, I think.
yeah, but I think it was fair. They had already, it was old legislation, and now they've got new legislation because Florida's been in a very bad place. That's where that
Mm.
video and the fog came from that I do recommend that people
Yeah,
watch.
definitely.
Yeah, but a number of states. So, there is a level of awareness that we simply don't have here.
Yeah.
So from that, given that situation, one of the first things that we need to do is raise that level of awareness very fast.
Mm.
And then it's a question of how you do that. How I think you don't do that is by getting into online arguments, and going to forum where you just go chem con, pointless waste of energy, doesn't really uplift anybody or anything, and it just sort of creates more bad feelings. So we have to think kind of more intelligently about how we communicate with other people who are not seeing things the way that we see them. And we've had quite a lot of experience of that over the past 5 years, I think. I've certainly had to learn how to talk to people about certain things. So communicate, but think about your audience and the situation. So in one-to-one conversations, I would say drop a few seeds, few comments, see how it goes. Don't try and convert anybody or tell them everything you know in one go because they can't cope. And I understand that. I've had this with neighbors. I've said, look at the sky. And then you can see the reaction because when they're starting the beginnings of that process,
Mm.
of all the things that they have to understand, you have to think through. If you're really understanding that there are a lot of people and agencies are involved in doing something like this.
Mm.
Yeah, remember, the airspace in the UK is very highly regulated. It's just not possible
Yeah.
that these sorts of things are happening without the aviation
Permission.
authorities knowing. It's
Knowing.
just not possible.
And
So we've got to have these conversations, and then online, it's also worth communicating. Something I do, I'm not
mm,
going to do it forever, but I go into fora like where there's mainstream posts where people are talking about the weather and photos, and I either say something quite short or else I give a very piece of concrete information. And I'm not my aim, it might look like it, but my aim is not to talk to people who have been effectively been conscripted, indoctrinated, whatever,
mhm,
just to argue, who are
mm,
just sort of playing the troll.
mm,
I'm not interested in them. What I'm interested in is that there should be a kind of break in the narrative. So that when you get a picture with, pretty chemicals or a comment by the weather people that, oh, this is a new cloud formation, we've got a new name for this, and everyone's going, oh, how lovely, or whatever,
mm.
that there are voices there saying, hang on, no, all is not well, and we need to actually be really paying attention to what's going on here. So that's my aim when I'm doing that is to provide information and questioning for the people who are open and curious and concerned.
Yeah. Probably 15 or so years ago, I remember showing a video that came up. It's very hard to find now on YouTube. I have been looking for it many times to tell people what's been going on. But it was the United Nations where they admitted what they were doing. They were calling it geoengineering at the time. And I remember showing it to a family member, And it's so blatantly obvious because she was saying, yes, we are doing it. And she was at the United Nations with 140, representatives from the countries listening and explaining why she was doing it. So there we watched the video, and then this family member still dismissed it. And I said, and then you're like banging your head against the wall because they're telling you that they're doing it, and they say, oh, they're not doing that, and they carry on. And to me, this is a cognitive dissonance that we have been suffering, for the last 5 years, because a lot of us know what's actually happening on the planet, and we tell people, and they want to stick their head in the sand. So how you're dealing with this, I think, is really important. We don't want to bombard people. We have to just drop a seed and let them do the work. It's really important for them to go and do some research to alert them to what's happening, and then they have to go and do the research. And I think then, if they really do the research and find out what's happening, they might become very angry, as I know people that have recently woken up to the truth. They've got really angry about it because nobody's asked our permission. That, there's been no discussion in this because it's been so covert, so hidden. They've just done it and think we haven't noticed, but now we're noticing. Thank God we're noticing, because something has to be done. It's a very serious matter.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're in the territory of mass formation here with the people. When you show them something and they can't see, it's not just about the information. So the thing about that is not to get too frustrated, or get frustrated, but don't stay frustrated. I get very frustrated. I also get very angry. But if you get stuck in that, then you're unable to communicate and move forward. So
Very
it's
true.
about doing your own emotional management, something
Yeah.
that I've had to really, really work on since 2020.
Yes.
I mean, the seeing is really interesting. Just to say that I was recently in a country where there is no trails. And in one area of the country, some mad pilot came and did squirrels in the sky. And some person in that country did a video with lots of information and research. And that video went viral. And most people, from what I understand in that country, who saw that video, understood that this was unusual, abnormal, that something was wrong. And that's because they haven't had decades of messaging about contrails. They haven't had that. So, we're talking about a natural inclination towards denial, which everybody has, mapping onto that. People will naturally go for an explanation that gets them out of thinking the worst.
Yeah, then they don't have to do anything. They just carry on. Yeah.
Exactly. So we're dealing with all that as well as many other aspects of it. So I think the communication and the mass awareness is key. And I think once you kind of get busy, as it were, once you get active, you then start thinking of particular groups or sectors that might want to know and be more amenable. Big one for me is food and food growing. So if people growing food were aware how much stuff is being dumped in their soil, they're going to get concerned. So the thing is, it's about linking the concern to something that directly affects them that they can understand. And that's where another aspect comes in, which is evidence. And I mean, like, evidence more than just a photo, which people tend to discount because of the reasons talked about. But if you've got, say, results of soil testing or water testing, which is what Mellow Kat did in California. She's the woman who's gone viral for confronting a pilot. If you've got something like that and you can actually present the evidence to your local allotment association or whoever, or food growing group, and take it to farmers. Yeah, you can think, once you start thinking, especially if it's an area that is of interest to you and you know about it, all sorts of things open up. Now, these are all things that an individual can do by themselves. But if you've got one other person to share with, it becomes easier. If you've got two or, 3 or 4, you've got a little group and you can then divide up tasks.
Well, we have a lot of farmers markets these days, don't we? Which are lovely, on a Sunday or Saturday or whenever, Friday, I don't know. But I think that would be great. If there is 1 or 2 in your group that know what's going on and you want to make more people aware, get a little stall at the farmers market, and then maybe sign up, get a petition, if that's the answer, write to your council, the local MPs, let them know what's going on. Some of them don't know what's going on. They really don't. Those at the top obviously do. but the minions at the bottom, they don't. So I think that's another suggestion for people to bring awareness.
There are literally hundreds of things you can do, but people disagree about what's effective. So
Hmm.
the thing is, again, is to avoid tripping yourself up, because I think we're just so self-defeating as modern people, basically. We can find all sorts of reasons why not to do something or why something won't work. If there's something you just think aren't is not effective, and there's plenty of things that I think are not very effective, don't do it. But don't try and stop somebody else from doing it. Find something that you think is effective and that it works for you in terms of your skills and your temperament and your area and your situation, and just do that. And that is so much better than posting online and saying, this big figure or that big figure or that organization needs to sort it out,
Mm.
because they're not. And, if we are, I imagine a lot of people listening are going to be very into sovereignty
Mhm.
and all that. If we're sovereign, our ability and our need and our right to sort of manage our own lives and our own life force, they're with us. They're not with any external organization fundamentally.
Mm. And you mentioned earlier, nobody's coming to save us, whether it's Trump, if you believe he's a savior. I think he's good cop, bad cop. But sorry, we won't go down the political route, but it is down to us as individuals. There's no leader, there's no hero, there's no savior. It's down to us to be sovereign and to be spiritual and to do the work. And I think that's really important for people to know. You've got to get off your backside and go and do something, and not blame, not moan, not be a victim, not wait for the cavalry. You are the cavalry. So yeah, get off. If you're watching this video and this resonates with you and you know what we're talking about, then do something about it. Yeah, off you go.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. And at the same time, it's fine to have lots of negative feelings,
Mm,
but it's just like I think what's gone wrong for some of the people who've known this for a long time, much longer than I have. People will know more about certain areas of this. We haven't mentioned the other technologies, which I won't go
mm.
into, but I can also see you can see them from their effects. Um, it's not to get so stuck and feel so defeated, which is possibly a consequence of years and years of not being listened to. But the time is now. The time is now because there are people who are more open than ever before.
Mm.
And when I've had a personal, okay, so I'm like under another name for this, just as a bit of protection from trolls, but I'm quite open generally. I have all sorts of conversations with all sorts of people, from my neighbors to close friends, people at bus stops, whatever about this. I have not had a bad experience.
Mm.
I've had a couple of people go, oh no, that's ridiculous.
Mm.
And then when they're at that stage, I just leave it. Um, but it can't go that wrong. Yeah, so it
But I
is really,
think those are the really good seeds to sow, because I say, if people say, oh, nice day today, as we do, as we started this conversation, we sort of talk about the weather, don't we? And sometimes, oh, it's a lovely day. So I said, yeah, because they're not spraying us today, are they? And then I'll walk on, and that's enough. And they might think, what's she talking about? But if the next person says, oh, they're not spraying us today, then people start thinking for themselves. And that's all some of us have to do, just sow those seeds. But if you are the sort of person that is really, is able to take it further, you have the time, the inclination, then get a group together and do something. Educate people. It's all about education, because also, as sovereign beings, nobody has the right to tell us what we can and can't do, and nobody has a right to take over our planet, no matter how much money or how powerful or rich or famous you are. And I think that's what we forget, because we have become disempowered, because through, I guess, especially in the Western world, we give away our power from the very beginning. When we go to nursery school, and then infant school and junior school, and then we go into work, we're always expecting somebody else to tell us, yes, you can go to the toilet, or no, you can't do this, you can't stand up and sit down, and this is how much you're getting paid. We've just given away this power, expecting somebody else to tell us what to do, especially the new generation. And it is really disconcerting. So now this is that wake up period for people to think, hang on a minute, I'm a sovereign being, I'm a spiritual entity, and I don't like this, so I'm going to go and do something about it. And it doesn't have to be a lot. You don't have to do a lot, just do a little bit. We find people in your area to work together.
yeah. And it could roll.
Mm-hmm.
It could roll. It's something that could happen really, really fast. if there's enough people doing various things.
Mm.
So everything is possible. There's
Yeah.
everything to fight for, and there's everything to lose at the same time.
Yeah. But it's very important. There is everything to lose. That's really important because it's not just affecting us, it is affecting the bumblebees. And when they talk about, oh, global warming or climate change or whatever they want to call it, you think, yeah, but hang on, what are you doing? What are you doing up there, messing it all up, messing with the weather, playing with the weather? Skywatch, is there anything else you want to say as we bring this to an end? We've been going for about 40 minutes or so. Is there anything you want to add or say or suggest?
Um, if you're interested in what I've said, and if you want to know a bit more detail about what the UK government is doing, um, and the business, the plans for the future, uh, funding permitting, then please watch the video, and please share it, like it, subscribe, and all that stuff. I may be doing some other things with the video. I'm not sure yet. If you're on X, then there's a Twitter account, Skywatch144. Uh, and yeah, if you have any insider information, or if you're very if you're able to do something really evidence-based, because that's kind of what we need, then get in touch. The Skywatch email is under the video as well, and I'll send it to you as well, Karen.
Yeah,
Um,
please do. Oh, yeah,
so
send me all the links and I'll put it in the description for people to take this further, those that want to. And even just watch the video, that's taking it further. Just get more information, get yourself educated. It's your
yeah, and
planet.
the thing that I say to people when I'm talking and also online is, let's not argue, don't argue, just watch the sky.
Yeah, just watch
Just
the
watch
sky.
watch what happens on a sunny day, most sunny days around the area of the sun. Watch the process. You know, only on Saturday, as my bedroom looks out on the western sky, I watch them building a grid line by line by line, very precisely, filling in the gaps. They're getting better at it.
Yeah,
They're getting more precise. The technologies and the approaches, from what I can see, are evolving very fast.
yeah,
Yeah. Drones could be the next
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah. So we need to get on with stuff. We really do.
Indeed. And I love what you said. Just watch the sky. It's a perfect name for this video. Thank you so much. Thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for getting in touch, so that we can chat about this and share it. As I say, that's just what I do on this Wise Women Weekdays channel. We just chat with people that have something really important to say. And to me, this is really, really important because it's happening now, it's current. And if you want to save your planet, then step up, basically. So
Yeah.
I'm,
No, well,
I'm
thank you, Karen, for what you're doing. And thank
no,
you for having
well,
me.
we all
Yeah.
do, yeah, we're all doing our bit, aren't we? In whatever way it is. And some people love filling in forms, some people love protesting, some people love standing with a placard. There's so many ways that you can do it. You can go to schools. There's so many things you can do. You can find out where the local, if you're one of these people that love to do train watching, train spotting, or plane spotting, find out where these planes are going, where they start, where they end, and who's flying them. That's what happened with this viral video, wasn't it? That a mum went to the pilot to his house. If you haven't seen the video, I'll put it'll be in the description. A mother went to the pilot and said, "Do you know what you're doing?" And he was just nonchalant. He didn't give a toss.
No, it was the
So
old, it was the old answer. It was
yeah,
just doing my
just
job,
doing
not
my
my
job.
job. Yeah, the old answer.
We've heard
Um,
that. Mm.
do recommend that video. And there's now a subsequent one where the same woman did an interview with Mellow Kat.
Mellow Kat. Yes,
Mellow
yes,
Kat,
yes.
yeah.
I'll put the name
I'll
in.
send you the link to that.
Yeah.
And Kimberly Montgomery, who did the first video, does raise a very important question, which was she puts it in a gender way, which I don't think you necessarily have to. She's, where were the men? Why was it left to one woman to do all this? So my question is, where are the other people?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know, in answer to that, and men, we need men, and there are a lot of them still around with the alpha male, masculine side, which is fantastic. But I think through the years, a lot of men have been demand. How can I say it in a tactful way?
Emasculated.
There you go. They have indeed. And I think this is all part of the bigger plan, to weaken the men. Not all of you guys. I'm not saying this, but just generally that has also, it's the same as the feminist movement. You know, all these things have been put in play for the greater the agenda that's panning out. So it's quite interesting. So we need you men. We love you guys. Come out and support the women. So you know, we can work together. Cool.
Yeah,
All right then, my love.
absolutely. All
Yeah,
right.
thank you so much, Skywatch. Really interesting talking to you, and you know, we'll keep in touch. And as I say to people, like it if you like it, or comment. At least comment, even if you don't like what you've heard. Comment and tell us why. Subscribe, share this, and let's see, you know, where we're going to go with it.
Yeah,
Cool.
okay. Thank you
All right.
so much. And thank you to all wise women and men who've been watching.
Brilliant. Lovely. See you soon.